This week, we're watching something wild unfold. Trump blinked. After weeks of shouting about economic sabotage and slapping tariffs on everything north of the border, suddenly he's calling Canada a friend again.
Something changed. Maybe it was the call with Prime Minister Carney. Maybe it's the fact that Canada's not backing down. Either way, Trump's tone did a 180. He even hinted Canada might be spared the worst on April 2nd.
But don't be fooled. Trump may say things will work out very well with Canada, but 25% tariffs on our auto sector are still on the books, and the threats on aluminum, lumber, and pharma, they're still hanging out there.
I don't know if Trump is being opposite man or not, or maybe he just sees the writing on the wall that we're all going to vote for Carney and has given up. But something has definitely changed. Meanwhile, Alberta's Premier Smith is off cozying up with Ben Canada is not a country Shapiro in Florida. This isn't just another chaotic week, it's a turning point, and Canada isn't backing down. Welcome to Democracy on Fire, and how we fight back one truth at a time.
This week, Donald Trump threatened Canada and the European Union over trade. He posted, "If the European Union works with Canada in order to do economic harm to the USA, large-scale tariffs far larger than currently planned will be placed on them both."
Didn't you say America doesn't need us anyway? That you're superior, self-sufficient, and being ripped off by everyone?
So what is it, Don? Are you the victim of Canadian tyranny or the global superpower that doesn't need friends? Pick a narrative, dude. You don't get to cry economic sabotage when Canada and the EU trade without your permission.
We're expanding and finding other partners because, as Prime Minister Carney put it so eloquently, the US is no longer a reliable partner.
And it's not just trade. You can't trust a partner who can't keep a secret. We share intelligence, threats, and military strategies through the Five Eyes Alliance, and they're out there leaking war plans on Signal like it's a family group chat. And here's what happened. Senior Trump officials, including drunken Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, were using Signal to coordinate live military airstrikes in Yemen. And someone accidentally added the Atlantic's editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg to the chat. That's right, a journalist was looped into an unsecured group thread where top-level war plans were being discussed in real time.
Times, targets, launch sequences. We're talking 12:15 F-18s launch, 15:36 sea-based Tomahawks fired, and they even used emojis.
But don't worry, it gets worse. Because according to Goldberg, a covert CIA operative was named in that thread. But he said he didn't put it in the story because she's undercover. But I mean, hey, the CIA director put it in the chat. Let that sink in. The CIA director exposed a covert agent in a chat that included someone who wasn't even security cleared.
This isn't some oopsie with a filing cabinet. This is active war zone coordination being shared like a group brunch invite.
And the Trump administration denied, deflected, and attacked the journalist. The journalist that had more integrity than the Trump security team. He's the one who didn't name the undercover CIA agent. They did.
And let's go back to Hillary Clinton's private emails. That was treated like it was the crime of the century. FBI investigations, congressional hearings, endless chance of lock her up. But now, a journalist gets invited into a Signal chat with live strike data and named a CIA operative, and nothing happens? Come on.
So, while Trump was busy warning Canada and the European Union to not talk to each other, he also, once again, threatened Greenland by sending J.D. Vance to scold Denmark and try their MAGA mind tricks that only work on the weak.
J.D. Vance, he had the subtlety of a wrecking ball in snowshoes. He told Greenland to cut a deal with the US and ditch Denmark. Luckily, they're not falling for it. 87% of the people are not interested in being part of the USA.
Trump says the US needs Greenland to guarantee peace for the entire world. And why? Because Greenland has resources, shipping routes, and strategic military value, and Trump's treating it like beachfront property just like he did with Gaza. Heck, he's probably eyeing it to create the first golf course on a glacier. Oh, this glacier has a lot of holes in it. I think it would work as a Mar-a-Lago North.
But seriously, what year is this? 1815? What happened to diplomacy? What happened to working with allies? The world used to collaborate. Now we're all being shoved into full warfare mode because the Trump administration said so.
It sure feels like we've time-warped back to the age of empire, when world powers stomped around the globe, planting flags and calling it civilization.
This isn't about protecting Greenland from China or Russia. That's the cover story. It's about shipping lanes, oil, rare earth minerals, and planting another oversized US flag in the Arctic. They're using security concerns to cover up their real agenda, which is extraction and global control.
And while Trump claims it's for international security, let's be honest, the only country the world needs defending from right now is the United States.
And to our pals in Greenland, we see you and we're here for you. We have a stake in this too. Not only are we under the same threat as you, we share an island with you. And I think we understand you. Like the time we all had a dispute together over Anne's Island. We handled it like adults. We planted our flags, leaving whiskey and schnapps. It was the nicest border dispute in history.
Listen, the world has had it. Trump isn't rising, he's spiraling. He's yelling, threatening, grasping at land that isn't his, lashing out like a toddler who dropped his gold-plated rattle in the Arctic. He's not negotiating from strength. He's desperate.
He knows he can't fulfill his campaign promises. He has a crumbling economy, a public that's waking up, and global allies who are finally realizing
we don't owe the US anything anymore. And that's exactly what Canada is doing. We've started cutting ties, and the first sign? Travel.
Bookings to the US from Canada have collapsed. We're talking more than 70% down and still dropping. Airlines are scrambling, tour operators are panicking, and American tourism boards are crying into their empty hotel rooms. Why? Because Canadians are done.
It's not just about tariffs, though Trump's latest stunt, slapping 25% tariffs on Canadian auto parts, definitely lit the fuse. This is about principle.
And Canadians are saying, if you treat us like enemies, don't expect us to be your customers.
Air Canada, WestJet, Porter, they're shifting routes to Europe, Mexico, and the Caribbean. And why not? They're all better locations anyway. There's a big wide world out there that is far more affordable for Canadians.
Because, let's face it, the loonie tanked to the US dollar. But that's not what tanked US tourism. Trump did. And honestly, let him deal with it. You can have your wall, Dawn. We'll be on a beach in Portugal.
The US loves to act like they're the only superpower on the map. But guess what? There's trillions of dollars in debt. They're spread thin right across the globe. And despite all those nukes, they haven't actually won a war since World War II. They're not unstoppable, they're unstable.
So here's the call to the world, because I think Canada has really caught Trump off guard. Cut him off.
Trade with each other. Travel to each other's countries. Build alliances that don't involve babysitting American chaos. We don't need to fear Trump anymore. We need to isolate him politically, economically, and diplomatically.
And Canada's already leading the way.
Meanwhile, back in Alberta and Ottawa, the Conservative meltdown continues. Should we talk about it?
Oh yeah, we're going there. Buckle up, everybody.
Well, Pierre Poilievre's out here having a full-blown meltdown that the Liberals are stealing his ideas, like cutting the carbon tax or getting rid of capital gains. Prime Minister Carney is doing what grown-ups do, listening, adjusting, and just getting shit done. That's not stealing, Pierre. That's called governing.
On the same day Trump slapped those 25% tariffs on Canadian autos, Carney stood in Windsor, ground zero for Canada's auto industry and announced a $2 billion strategic response fund.
Yep, the fund will boost Canadian auto manufacturing, protect workers, build a domestic supply chain, limit reliance on U.S. border crossings, and start building an all-Canadian car parts network. Now, that's not just a band-aid. It's a blueprint for economic independence.
Trump wants to choke our industry, but Carney's building us a fortified garage. He's investing in Canadian-built vehicles for government fleets, and he's prioritizing Canadian jobs instead of waiting for mercy from Washington.
Meanwhile, PP's out here yelling, "Knock it off," like that's an actual policy.
But Carney didn't stop there. He took all that same strategy to the Arctic. He promised submarines, icebreakers, drones, and a major pay boost for the Canadian Armed Forces.
It's all part of a plan to hit NATO's 2% defense spending target and defend every inch of Canadian soil, especially the parts Trump and his MAGA Arctic conquest squad seem a little too interested in.
While the Conservatives, they can't even decide if Canada should be standing up to Trump at all. Before we go any further, we need to say something important, especially to our American friends watching this. We are not attacking Americans. We're calling out the people in power who are dragging you into authoritarianism.
75 million of you didn't vote for this, and another third of the country didn't vote at all. Maybe because you thought, how bad could it get? Well, now you know.
And for those of you who are fighting back, don't stop. You're on the front lines of something massive, and the world is watching. We're here to have your back and to amplify your voices. So keep doing what you're doing, protesting, organizing, calling it out. You're not alone in this, and you're not shouting into a void.
So apparently, Premier Danielle Smith looked at everything happening in Canada and decided, the best use of her time was to fly to Florida and hang out with Ben Shapiro. Because nothing screams serving Alberta like a $1,500 a plate fundraiser in the Sunshine State with a guy who literally called Canada a silly country that should be annexed.
She's now rightfully facing heat for the trip, and for cozying up to all those far-right American influencers, including Breitbart. Remember when she told them that she asked the Trump administration to pause tariffs because they're hurting PP's chances?
And let's not forget, this is the same Danielle Smith who skipped the Canadian Premier's meeting with Justin Trudeau so that she could go and rub elbows with Trump World in Florida.
She's so smug. Hey Danielle, here's a wild idea. Maybe if someone calls your country silly and says it should be annexed, don't go to their dinner party.
And what Smith's doing is part of a broader trend. Canadian Conservatives aligning themselves with far-right American ideology, media, and money.
The end game? To drag Canada into the same pit of division, deregulation, and disinformation that the US is already drowning in.
And PP? Don't think we've forgotten about the Freedom Convoy, or how you cozied up to American agitators and cheered them on while they tried to undermine Trudeau and disrupt our democracy.
Pierre Poilievre might not scream like a mega bro at the moment, but he's in sync with all of it. Think about it. He wants to defund the CBC. He rails against the so-called gatekeepers, and he winks at the anti-vaxxer crowd. Poilievre's playbook isn't conservative, it's MAGA in a parka.
So let's be real, these people aren't defending Canada. They're importing American chaos one Breitbart interview at a time. And if you think Smith is just a rogue outlier, think again. This is part of the US-style conservative pipeline, and it's slithering into every level of Canadian politics. And here's where it gets darker. Last week, ICE agents in the US snatched a Fulbright scholar, Rumiesa Otzerk, off the street for co-authoring an op-ed that was critical of Israeli policy.
She was taken in broad daylight by masked men, later confirmed to be ICE. That's what happens when you defund public broadcasting, muzzle the press, and silence dissent.
And if you think that couldn't happen here, just look what Poilievre is pushing. Take out the CBC, gut public journalism, and what's left to hold power to account.
This is how it all starts. Not with boots on necks, but with budget slashed, Truth silenced and voices erased.
That's not democracy. That is the prelude to authoritarianism.
And in the middle of all this chaos, the threats, the lies, the MAGA mimicry, there's Prime Minister Carney.
Focused, strategic, governed by facts, not feelings. He's not out there picking fights on YouTube or taking selfies at truck stops.
He's building the future, securing jobs, defending sovereignty, and holding the line against the chaos next door.
And look, even Trump seemed to get the memo. After a call with PM Carney, he toned it down, talked about sovereignty, called him by his actual title, and hinted that Canada might be spared the worst of his tariff.
I don't know what was said on that phone call, but the tone changed. Trump even said that April 2nd will bring tariffs, but Canada might be okay. That's a huge about-face.
Yep, Carney didn't cave. He held firm, defended our economy, and still managed to open the door to future negotiations.
This isn't politics as usual. It's democracy on fire.
In Canada, we're bringing the extinguisher.
One vote, one truth, and one mic drop at a time. So what do you think? Is Trump intimidated by Carney and is actually showing some respect to Canada? Or is he still playing opposite man and just trying to spark a light under those maple megas to get out and vote for PP? Let us know in the comments below, because we're curious.
If you want to help us get to 100,000 subscribers, make sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell, because we put up new videos like this every single week, and you don't want to miss one.
And we're so close.
We're so close.
Right there.